Morning, everybody. It's the 3rd of September, 2020. A lot of threes. This is actually the third time that I have recorded this. First time, no video. Second time, no audio. So hopefully this time it all goes through. Well, what you're seeing, we see a name off on the side there, Liam. It's not a name though. It is a name, but in this case it's an acronym. And on the bottom, Lilly's story. Now this is from my eyes not as a professional, not as an educator, but from my eyes as a father. And the acronym Liam, Life Insurance Awareness Month. I apologize beforehand for any noises, whether it be my Great Pyrenees outside or, well, the external noises of living on a main drag or phones beeping. It's the beginning of a day, beginning of a new day. But this is a Lilly story. About 15 years ago, about 20 years ago, part of a congregation, and they said, Dave, you need to be more transparent. So that's when I hit social media. It's when I started my own website. And now I like to share most everything in my world through Facebook. I'm not a Twitter guy, but I'm going to take you back in time, not 20 years, just a few years back. Well, it's about Lilly, and it goes to October 22nd of 2018. Now, first of all, those of you who know Lilly know she's creative. She loves to be creative. She loves to dress up. She loves to act, play, and use her imagination. She will get herself into just about anything and create anything from a situation. There she's in a boat. It's not a boat, but that was a boat. She's floating down the river. Just loving life. And I'm actually going to talk a little bit about this photo because of when it was taken. And taken around the date in question, October 22nd, 2018. That date was a Boo in the Zoo. We were looking forward to Boo in the Zoo. Wasn't looking forward to the drive down there because anyone who takes a 3-year-old down to St. Louis knows you get about 10 miles if you're lucky, and then it's when are we going to be there? When are we going to be there? So you start in with let's look for the Arch game somewhere around Collinsville. You pray that there's a barge heading down the Mississippi to distract for a little bit. But we were looking forward to Boo in the Zoo. Lilly had already picked out some of her costumes for the year. I believe there was a pirate costume, which I can't find a picture of this morning. There was a train conductor costume. Other costumes from that year included her favorite character of that year, Moana. She loved Moana. But for trunk or treat, we sported her as a lobster. Yeah, this is probably going to get me on a watch list at some point in time. That she was the lobster, and I thank one of our congregational members for providing the pot to put her in. I was the cook, and Shelley was the fisherman. Don't know if that's ethical or not, but that's what we were. we also had just some creative costuming that year, and just had a lot of fun. Just a lot of fun that year. Hoping to go to Boone the Zoo, and it was going to be an exciting night. So we get through Collinsville, do the arch game, and get past the river, and do the barge thing. I can't remember if there were any barges or not, because pretty soon after hitting the river, I hear from the back seat, it's the Cardinals' place. It's the Cardinals' place. And yeah, she had been to Busch Stadium that year, and Busch Stadium was a pretty exciting thing for her. So she was really excited when she saw Busch Stadium. So we pass Busch Stadium, and I make mention of, I don't know what it's called today, Savvis Center, Scott Trade, whatever, where the Blues play. I said, "Look, Lily, it's where the Blues play." She's never been to a hockey game, but she's seen them on TV. There wasn't a response from the back seat. That's not uncommon with Lily. Lily is very observant, so she will be focusing on something. It could be the brickwork on a building, or maybe it was some of the terracotta. You just blow it off. So we keep on driving, and I make a few more mentions about things, and really didn't hear a response from the back seat. So I peek in the rearview mirror, as I do quite regularly, with her back there, and her eyes are open. She's looking up. I can't tell what she's looking at. Who knows? Could be a mosquito. Could be a bug. Probably not a mosquito in October. I can't remember what the weather was necessarily. But you never know. She's looking at the ceiling. So I say something else. No response. A little bit puzzled. So I reach back and I tickle her knee. Not even a twinge. Now that gets into the odd for Lily. Lily tends to react. I didn't mention anything to Shelly because, for those of you who know Shelly, I still wanted to arrive alive, and she does get, she's excitable. So I reach back again and do a little shake of the knee. No response. Now I'm getting a little freaked. I'm a little worried. So I reach back and grab her arm while I'm driving. I don't feel a pulse. I can't tell if she's breathing. Her eyes are still up. Almost look like they're rolled back. Well, I waste no time and take the next exit before informing Shelly why I'm taking the exit. So I take the Kings Highway exit. That was sort of my my break point at that point in time. It's just how I'm wired. That you have to know what your options are. And I knew that Children's was off of Kings Highway. You had Barnes right there. And Shelly asked me, "Hey, why are we turning off?" I said, "I think there's something wrong with Lily." So we immediately pull off the exit. I didn't want to wait. I knew that there were a couple traffic lights, and Kings Highway was iffy on how long it would take to get to the children's emergency room. Plus, I didn't exactly know where it was at that point in time. I just hadn't been there. So I pull over, I get out, and I realize that Lily had been sick at some point in time. We didn't hear anything, didn't see anything. It wasn't a lot, but she was non-responsive. Eyes were fairly rolled back. I still couldn't tell if she was breathing, although she had not lost color. It felt like there was a faint, shallow breathing. In my mind, I'm thinking stroke. I'm thinking something not good. Shelley was already dialing 911 as we had discussed as I was getting out of the car. We'd pulled Lily from the car onto the side of the road just in case she got sick again. Didn't want her in a leaning back position. I wanted her on her side. As we were doing basic first aid, I was holding it together pretty well. I think, at least I've been told. We did finally have a Good Samaritan doctor, I want to say she was from radiology or something, at Cardinal Glennon. Pulled over and asked if we need help, and basically said, all we can get, we don't know what's going on. So she stayed with us and helped us monitor the situation, which was pretty darn grim at the time. I'll paint the picture. We're in the grass on the side of Kings Highway, on the exit, and Lily is just limp as a noodle. Her eyes were closed now. We were still struggling to find a pulse on her, although the other doctor believed she had found one. Most interesting ambulance arrival. It seemed like it had taken the ambulance forever to get there. Probably didn't, but for those of you who have been in those situations, whether it be family or otherwise, it feels like forever. Paramedics got on scene. I gave them the quick what's for. The doctor gave them the information that she thought was pertinent. And I was holding Lily by this point in time. She was limp, not responding. Handed her to the paramedic, and paramedic literally said, well, who's going with us? Shelley hopped on the ambulance, paramedic scooped her up, and they were gone. There was no on scene. Well, I policed up what was in the grass, threw it in the car, and started my way to Children's, not knowing what was going on. In that amount of time, I called my pastor. We had prayed. I had lost it. I don't know how I got to Children's. I remember looking in the rearview mirror and not recognizing myself. Just tears, sort of a thy will be done situation. The amount of thoughts that go through your mind is just unbelievable. It was a lot of who you are. Who are you? A lot of those thoughts brought me to where I am today, because I want to be there for others. So I get to Children's Park. I was very fortunate, and God had provided a parking spot for me real close. And we're talking legal too. We're not just like dropping it off on the corner, because I didn't expect to go back out and move my car. That was just not happening. I get in. Fortunately, a nurse overheard me talking to the security guard, and they said, he's with that girl. And the security guard let me in without running me through the rigors. I don't think I would have responded real well. So they bring me back in, and Lily is in testing. So we didn't have any answers. To abbreviate the story a little bit, Lily comes back in, and she looks like a sleeping child. But she couldn't be, raised up from sleeping. There was no waking her up. Didn't matter how loud, how boisterous, where we shook. She was out. She was not responding to anything physically. No verbal cues, nothing. The staff said they really didn't know what had happened. So we were waiting for EKGs and brain scans and all of that. Again, we didn't know if she'd had a stroke. We knew neurology had been called. Neurologist wasn't there on scene yet, but the nurses at Children's were fantastic, and the doctor on call was fantastic, and they at least were answering the questions the neurologist had from a distance. Well, of course, in Lilly form, Lilly doesn't perform for anybody. It's been a joke in our family. Just before the neurologist arrived, Lily, had a little twitching, so we were hoping that's her coming out of it. The things that go through your mind as a parent during that time, you have the macabre sort of, what were her last words? What was the last thing she said to me? When was the last time I told her I loved her? When was the last time she gave me a hug? Those are some of the thoughts. But as she starts to come out of it, you start asking yourself very selfish questions like, how far is she going to come out? What's she going to be like after? What's life going to be like after? When you're just laying there holding her, you're just treasuring every second, but you don't know what to expect. Well, Lily, of course, starts coming out of it, and again, I cannot find the picture, but in Lily form, she's wearing the hospital gown, and she starts coming out, and we get the on-call doctor in there to sort of witness her coming out, and it wasn't like a waking up. It was more like a coming to, as things, for those computer people out there, it was almost like watching a reboot. Things coming online, a reboot of a server more than a computer, because everything was coming online one at a time. Again, this is taking almost an hour, maybe an hour plus. By the time the neurologist got there, Lily had her own stethoscope. She had her own little face mask, pre-COVID face mask. We didn't know how valuable that face mask would be in the future, or we would have kept it. So she was pretending to be a doctor when the neurologist came in. She was back to being Lily. Well, at the end of that night, what did we know? Well, we knew something had happened to Lily. We knew that her brain scans were okay. Her EEG was okay. So we didn't know much other than knowing what we knew wasn't, all the rule outs that doctors do. Fast forward to March 9th, and I have the video. I'm not going to show the video. It's gut-wrenching. I can't watch it. But we had a second incident where this happened again. The first time, doctors looked at me with the symptoms and just looked at me like I had three heads. The second time, we videotaped it. and I showed it to the neurologist at our appointment. I felt better when the doctor looked at my phone and made it look like it had 3 heads. Just puzzled. Wasn't a normal seizure. Nothing about it was normal. But nevertheless, with the second occurrence, Lily now is diagnosed as having epilepsy. She's been on epileptic medication ever since. Why do I bring that up? Well, when Lily was a couple months old, under a year, we got life insurance on her with guaranteed purchase options. We did it for Daniel 20 years ago, and did it for Lily. Do it for the selfish reason. Hey, we have protection, but also have an instrument of savings that we can use for college or whatever. Well, in that 6-month time period, the whole purpose of that changed. Because again, when I go back and look at the pictures, and this picture, and then I'll bring up another. Picture of her. That picture. What's the difference? Other than her wearing long sleeves in one and short sleeves in another. Other than them being about 4 months different. This picture is an insurable Lily. And this picture was an after picture. The reality of life happens. Lily might not be eligible for insurance ever again. Life insurance, that is. Wasn't the reason we necessarily bought it, but in the back of your mind, it's a possibility. You think of other things as being things to disqualify a child from possibly being eligible for life insurance. But where it was done for us, Shelly and I, and Lily, in the secondary reason, I came to realize that there were others that would be affected by that purchase. Lily's kids, grandkids. Lily would someday want to have insurance on herself to help protect her kids. And of course, I'm a dad. I don't want to think about all that, but hey, it's reality. Life happens. So why do I bring this up? Well, first of all, be transparent. In my world, this Lily, or that Lily, and the Lily over here, and the Lily over there, same Lily. Lumber just the same. Didn't change a bit in my heart, in my mind, but things happened. Life happened. I'm glad the Lord has led me where He has. I'm glad I get to share this. I'm glad I get to tell others my story. I'm glad I get to pray with them in the bad times and the good. I'm glad I get to educate them on the purposes for things like juvenile life insurance and how it just doesn't seem rational sometimes. Why am I doing this? But I'm doing it for my grandkids. I've got to live long enough to see them and be blessed to have them. But nevertheless, if they're someday our grandkids of mine, through Lilly, there's a tool there for them. So it's a long story. It's an ongoing story. It's a story of how important it is. So, as Life Insurance Awareness Month, September, life happens. I just wanted to share how life happened for us, and how we're going to use the tool the Lord has provided for us. I thank you for your time. I know I'm at 25 minutes, and you're not going to get those 25 minutes back. But I wanted to share, and feel free to share with me. I have met 2 people in the past week who have very similar stories. One was fortunate, as I was, to have put something in place early, and another, by age 6, when they wanted to put something in force, they had no options due to a diagnosis. Life happens, and we're left to pray thy will be done, knowing the Lord has everything in hand. Thank you for your time, and look forward to hearing from you and your responses. Feel free to message me if you don't want to share in the open post.